very, very banal question, but we know you're no stranger to awards. So what was it like to get the phone call, the early morning, here at least early morning phone call about your Oscar nomination?
Actually, I didn't get a phone call. I was up like everybody else watching the announcements on television. I couldn't really sleep that night, so I'd been up all night and I was very tired and jazzed up on coffee and so when they said that I was tired, we obviously started screaming and jumping around and were very happy. So that was a good feeling. Not something that happens every day. And I also got to tell you, I won't be offended if anybody goes out because I know how long this film is and I know that a lot of you have to pee and I'm tired. I've seen it many, many times. I know that feeling.
It seems short. Okay. But take some questions.
One of the I've seen this film before. One of the beautiful things about this film is the moments, the silent moments of nuances of intimacy between characters. Like in even the end when Strunzi's in the coach and he knows that he's not going to be pardoned and the priest won't meet his eyes. Or when they're in Germany and she's relieved to see the two of them playing. And so there's just all that is so wonderful because it creates that sense of intimacy. First one, it was so fabulous for the three of them, and then it began to go south. So can you talk about that?
Yeah.
We're talking about, the question was about the sort of more silent moments in the film that you seem to like. That was about the sort of the moments where you didn't have to use words to show emotions or describe what was going on. It seemed like one of my favorite scenes is the scene in the coach at the end where he's just looking at the priest touching his cross and knowing that he's going to die, which was absolutely a moment I was looking forward to do. Even when I wrote the script, I thought this was going to be a very cinematic thing. And I think that I'm usually I usually like words because I'm a writer. I started out as a screenwriter, so I like using a lot of words like dialogue. And obviously one of the things I'm trying to ways that I want to evolve as a director is to use fewer and fewer words to tell stories because, cinema is definitely a visual medium. So I think I got a little closer with this one, and maybe the next one will be even fewer words. And so I really enjoy watching films that don't have to tell the entire stories with dialogue and words.
Yes.
When doing a period piece, what is the whole talk between the costume designer?
What was the discussion with the costume designer?
The conversation.
A sharply dressed young man there. Well, the main discussion was how do we get costumes that are good enough for no money at all? Because obviously we had a Danish budget for this film. I think it was about $6.5 to $7 million, which is not a lot for this type of film. So I had a wonderful costume designer, a lady who had been doing costumes for big Danish films for many, many years, and she sort of said, okay, I will do my best. And she traveled, I think, in a bus around Europe and rented and bought and created and, spent months and months getting all the dresses and fitting them for the actors. So I was very lucky to have a very dynamic and cost-efficient costume designer who had also, she has a great vision and a great palette of colors. So yeah.
Right.
Can you talk a little about the casting, because Mads is pretty well known, he's done international stuff. You talk a little about the casting, because a lot of them are not familiar to us here.
Well, yeah, besides Mads Mikkelsen, who is becoming slowly an international star, I think the Queen, Alicia, I had actually cast a lot of Danish actresses. I cast around, I think, 65 Danish actresses, almost every actress in Denmark, basically. To play the Queen. I couldn't really find her. I really couldn't I didn't think they had that certain regal quality that I needed, and that something ethereal about her. And so I had to. I was very desperate, and I almost gave up at one point. I said, we can't find her. We can't make the film. And then somebody said to me, or I said, I don't remember, let's go to Sweden and try that, because the Swedish, as some of you know, is pretty close to Danish. I found Alicia. She was a total nobody at that point, or nobody, but but she hadn't really done anything. So she was really good in the. She was not just really good; she was great in her first casting tape. And so all I did was I went to her and said, you know, I think you're perfect for your part. Can you learn Danish in 2 months? She said, you bet. And then she came to Copenhagen and she went on a crash course in Danish. And basically, you know, every day for 5 or 6 hours, we're doing the very sort of thorough Danish lessons. And in the end, she learned really well Danish. I mean, to a point where you can still sense that she's a foreigner, which doesn't matter because she plays an English girl anyway. Right. But that was a big thing.
What about Christian? I mean, Christian
was
awesome.
The king. Yeah, Christian. He had never done anything before. Again, we found him in drama school, and it was quite amazing. And I hope you're clapping of him because I think he's a fantastic talent. And I was so lucky to have discovered this guy. And if I never am remembered for anything else, I will definitely be remembered for discovering Nikolaj Arcel because he's great.
Back there.
Well done, first off. Could you talk about recreating Copenhagen in the 1770s and onwards, and how much was practical effects, and how much was the actual city that you reused, and held tillykke med Oscar?
Yeah, thanks. So those of you who didn't understand it, good luck with the Oscars. So a lot of you understand this. Okay. How many Scandinavians in here, by the way? Ooh, okay, so almost everybody. That's good. Oh, so that's why you're so nice to me, everybody.
They're not all Danes, though.
But I was going to say that that's actually, it's an interesting question. One of the reasons this film hasn't gotten made, because a lot of you know, it's a very famous story back in Denmark and in Scandinavia. It was because they couldn't finance it, it was too expensive. They've been trying to make it for 30 years. So the way to do it was obviously now that the visual effects, the computer graphics gotten better and better, this was the time to do it. And actually we did a lot of computer graphics and hopefully a lot more than you can see or know that is in there. We didn't shoot anything of this film in Denmark. We shot the entire film in the Czech Republic. I'm sorry to say. Because we simply couldn't find any street in Copenhagen that still sort of resembled that very, very old, worn down feeling that it had in the 1760s. And also, there were a lot of beautiful castles in the Czech Republic that we could use because it was, again, too expensive or they had modernized the castles too much back home in Denmark. So we went to the Czech Republic, and the way we sort of created Copenhagen was by making a lot of the wider shots. We had a lot of visual effects, computer graphics, and for the smaller shots, we obviously went live to the real locations.
What was the theater when they were attending the theater?
It's a very famous Czech theater called Český Krumlov, and it's one of the few remaining sort of working theaters from the real time period. So when actually the scene, I don't know if you guys remember this now, but there's a scene where they sort of changed the set while the actors are there. That was something that I saw when they showed me the theater, and I said, we have to have this in the film because it's so beautiful, and it was real. This was the way they did it.
It reminded me of the Bergman Magic Flute.
Yeah.
Where I think it was in Drottningholm.
Yes.
Or somewhere like that. That ancient theater set. Yes.
I was just wondering, was there any scene in particular that was the most difficult for you to shoot, or that you were really picky with working? What was the most challenging?
We're usually very picky with everything, so everything is difficult. But I'm a little bit of a control freak, actually. But that doesn't matter if you're a director, by the way. That's just fine. I think one of the most entertaining difficulties that I had was probably that I had a fear of horses when I started doing this film. And we had horses in every 4 or 5 scenes. So I was always standing at a distance, you know, from everything and shouting to the actors, "That's fine, go closer to the horse." But towards the end, actually, you know, I actually got a relationship, but I got close to some of these horses and found out they were fantastic creatures, and so that was a big fear that I overcame on this film. And another obstacle was that we, again, because of money. We had to shoot a lot every single day, 5 or 6 big scenes, acting-wise, emotional-wise. And I think there was one day when we left the set at 2 o'clock at night or something, and Alicia was sitting next to me in the car back there to go to the hotel, and she said, just today, I've given birth twice. I've lost the man that I love, I've gotten married, and I've been virtually raped. So that was just it was just the scenes we had to do that one day. And every day was like that, and the actors were such good sports, to be able to actually go through it, and still, I believe, very great performances.